First contact. Supreme Commander Terrace stood motionless on the observation deck of the Kildarian flagship Inevitable Conquest, his four eyes fixed on a holographic display of a small blue-green planet, the third from an unremarkable yellow star in a spiral arm of an average galaxy. Nothing about it should have been remarkable, yet something made his scales prickle with unease. "Commander, preliminary scans complete," announced Sub-Commander Velix, her voice carrying the metallic resonance typical of all Kildarians. "The species calls themselves humans. Technological development consistent with Level 2 civilization. Primitive nuclear capabilities, rudimentary space exploration limited to their own solar system, still dependent on fossil fuels." Terrace flicked his tail, a gesture of contemplation among his kind. Environmental status. Self-contamination in progress. Atmosphere showing increasing carbon levels, oceans acidifying. Forest coverage declining annually. Velix's voice contained no emotion, merely factual reporting as expected from a proper Kildarian officer. Sociopolitical assessment. Fragmented governance. Nearly 200 separate nation-states with varying alliances and tensions. Regular armed conflicts over resources, ideology, and territory. Terrace nodded slowly. It was the perfect profile. Exactly the type of world the Kildarian Empire had conquered 87 times before. Rich in resources, technologically advanced enough to have developed useful infrastructure, but not advanced enough to pose any real threat. Divided enough that unified resistance would be unlikely. Yet something bothered him. "What's their primary defense strategy?" he asked. Velix hesitated. "That's unusual, Commander. They appear to have multiple redundant and competing defense systems. No single unified strategy. Elaborate. Some of their nation-states maintain large standing armies with traditional weapons. Others focus on nuclear deterrence. Some invest heavily in cybersecurity and electronic warfare. There's considerable variation in approach." Terrace's inner eyelids narrowed. "How inefficient." "Indeed. By our standards, their military spending is wildly disproportionate to their actual threat level. They appear to be constantly preparing for war. With themselves." This was the source of his unease. In his 3 centuries of conquest campaigns, Terrace had never encountered a species that devoted so many resources to fighting itself. It suggested an unusual capacity for both violence and innovation, a potentially dangerous combination. "Launch additional stealth probes," Terrace commanded. "I want deeper cultural analysis. Focus on their response patterns to threats and crises." "As you command," Velix responded with a bow, her armored exoskeleton clicking softly as she departed. Terrace continued staring at the rotating hologram of Earth. Standard conquest protocol would begin with a targeted strike at one population center, followed by an ultimatum. Most species surrendered immediately after the demonstration. Those that didn't were subjected to progressively larger strikes until they recognized the futility of resistance. But something told him these humans might not follow the expected pattern. Dr. Elena Reyes had been awake for nearly 36 hours straight, but the caffeine coursing through her system kept her alert as she stared at the anomalous readings on her screen. "Run the analysis again," she instructed her assistant. "That's the 5th time, Doctor," replied Dr. Samir Kapoor, his own exhaustion evident in the dark circles under his eyes. "The gravimetric distortion near Jupiter's orbit is consistent with controlled spatial manipulation. This isn't a natural phenomenon." Elena pushed her dark hair away from her face, her brown eyes never leaving the display. As the director of SEORD, the Secret Earth Organization for Reconnaissance and Defense, she had spent the last 8 years preparing for this exact scenario. "Alert all monitoring stations," she said quietly. "Initiate protocol watchtower." Samir hesitated. "That would require presidential authorization." "Do you think this is a false positive, Samir?" He glanced back at the readings. "No. Then we don't have time for bureaucracy. We've been picking up these anomalies for 3 weeks, each one closer to Earth than the last. This isn't a coincidence. She reached for the secure phone on her desk, the one that connected directly to a select few individuals with the highest security clearance. This is Director Reyes. Authorization code Sierra Echo Oscar 97 Delta. We have a confirmed watchtower scenario. I repeat, watchtower is active. A calm voice responded on the other end. Understood, Director. The Security Council will convene in 30 minutes. The President has been notified. Elena hung up and turned to Samir. Wake up the rest of the team. I want all our defense systems at ready status within the hour. All of them? Samir asked, eyes widening. Even Project Chrysalis. Especially Project Chrysalis, Elena confirmed. I've had a feeling for months that we'd need it. As Samir hurried from the room, Elena turned back to the window of her underground office. The SEORD facility was buried 2 kilometers beneath the Arizona desert, invisible to anyone on the surface and shielded from any known scanning technology. For nearly 50 years, since the first credible evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence had been secretly obtained, SEORD had operated in absolute secrecy, not just from the public, but from most of the world's governments. Only a handful of nations were even aware of its existence, pooling their resources and brightest minds to prepare for the possibility of contact or invasion. Most people believed organizations like SEORD existed only in conspiracy theories and science fiction. That ignorance had been deliberately cultivated. The panic that would ensue from public knowledge of their work would be counterproductive to their mission. Elena had joined SEORD 15 years ago as a quantum physicist specializing in field manipulation theory. Now, as director, she was responsible for humanity's first, and possibly last, line of defense against what was coming. Her phone buzzed with a text message from General Williams. Security Council assembled. Satellite network detecting multiple objects decelerating at Mars orbit, estimating Earth arrival within 48 hours. She took a deep breath. After decades of preparation and billions in secret funding, they were about to discover if humanity's defenses would be sufficient. Tactical Officer Krell studied the data from the stealth probes with growing concern. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from multiple locations on the planet's surface. Commander Terrace approached the tactical station. Define unusual. He missions consistent with directed energy weapons, sir. And Krell paused, rechecking the readings. Quantum field manipulation technology. Terrace's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of surprise among Kildarians. Impossible. The cultural and technological assessment puts them centuries away from such capabilities. The readings are clear, Commander. What's more, they appear to be actively scanning for us, despite our stealth systems. This was unprecedented. Level 2 civilizations shouldn't be capable of detecting Kildarian stealth technology, let alone possessing energy weapons or quantum field manipulation. Something wasn't adding up. Could they have received outside assistance? Terrace asked, his mind racing through the possibilities. Unknown, sir. But if they had contact with a spacefaring civilization, our intelligence would have recorded it. Terrace considered this new information. The conquest of Earth had seemed like a routine operation, one last victory before his retirement after centuries of loyal service to the Empire. Now it was becoming increasingly complicated. Accelerate our approach, he ordered. I want the fleet in Earth orbit within one of their planetary rotations. Let's see how they respond to our presence. Yes, Commander. Should we prepare the demonstration weapon? Terrace nodded. Target their eastern continental landmass, one of their larger cities. New York, I believe it's called. As the orders were relayed throughout the massive flagship, Terrace returned to the observation deck, his gaze fixed on the blue planet growing larger in the view screen. In his long career, he had overseen the conquest of dozens of worlds, each one folding under the might of the Kildarian Empire. Some had fought bravely but futilely. Others had surrendered immediately, choosing servitude over extinction. What would these humans choose? And why did he have the unsettling feeling that they might offer a third option, one the Empire had never encountered before? The White House Situation Room was filled to capacity as Elena Reyes finished her briefing. The President of the United States, along with key cabinet members, military leaders, and representatives from the other 4 nations involved in SEORD, China, Russia, India, and the European Federation, all sat in stunned silence. To summarize, Elena concluded, "We have a fleet of approximately 200 vessels of varying sizes approaching Earth. Their technology signature matches nothing in our database, but their propulsion systems indicate a civilization at least 500 years more advanced than our public technology level." Public technology level, repeated General Williams, emphasizing the distinction for those less familiar with SEORD's work. "That's the key point here." The President leaned forward. "Dr. Rice, you've been preparing for this scenario for decades. What are our options?" Elena nodded to her assistant, who brought up a holographic display in the center of the table. "Project Chrysalis gives us 3 layers of defense. First, our quantum camouflage system. It doesn't just hide our advanced technology. It creates false readings that make us appear less advanced than we actually are. Like hiding a smartphone while making it look like you're using a rotary phone," added Samir, earning a few nervous smiles. "Exactly," Elena continued. "Second, our planetary shield grid. Once activated, it can repel energy weapons and kinetic projectiles of considerable power. And if those fail, asked the Chinese premier via secure video link." Elena's expression remained steady. "Then we deploy the Sentinels." The room grew even more silent. The Sentinels were SEORD's most classified project, a fleet of advanced spacecraft hidden in underground bases and orbital platforms around the solar system. Built using technology reverse-engineered from artifacts discovered beneath the Antarctic ice shelf in 1991, they represented humanity's true technological capability, at least 5 generations beyond what was publicly known. "How effective will they be against this alien fleet?" asked the President. "In simulations, very effective," Elena replied. "But this isn't a simulation." General Williams stood up. "Madam President, I recommend we activate the shield grid immediately, but keep the Sentinels on standby. Let's see what these visitors want before we show all our cards." The President nodded. "Agreed. Dr. Rice, you have full operational authority for SEORD assets. General Williams will coordinate with conventional military forces worldwide to ensure they don't interfere with your operations." As the meeting concluded, Elena felt the weight of responsibility settle even more heavily on her shoulders. For years, she had convinced herself that she was ready for this moment. Now that it had arrived, she wasn't so sure. The aliens were coming, and humanity's future would be determined by the decisions made in the next 48 hours. As she left the Situation Room, her secure phone buzzed with a message from the SEORD Command Center. "Deep space arrays confirm acceleration of alien fleet. Estimated arrival, 18 hours. The countdown had begun. The assessment. From the command bridge of the inevitable conquest, Commander Terrace watched as Earth grew from a distant blue marble to a detailed sphere showing continents, oceans, and swirling white cloud patterns. His fleet had decelerated from superluminal travel and now approached the planet's orbit with deliberate, intimidating slowness, a psychological tactic that had proven effective in countless previous conquests. "Broadcast standard Imperial greeting on all their communication frequencies," Terrace ordered. "Let them know who we are and what we require." Communications Officer Zellner complied immediately. "Broadcasting, Commander." The message, translated into the dominant Earth languages, was simple. "People of Earth, your planet is now under the authority of the Kildarian Empire. Resistance is futile and illogical. To demonstrate our power, we will eliminate one population center of our choosing. You have 6 hours to prepare your surrender documents and resource allocation plans." "Sir," Tactical Officer Krell interrupted, We're detecting unusual activity on the planet's surface. Elaborate. Military mobilization is expected, but Krell hesitated. Their response pattern is unusually coordinated for a fragmented society. And there's something else. Terrace moved to the tactical station, his tail swishing with impatience. What? The energy signatures we detected earlier. They're intensifying and spreading globally. It appears to be some kind of grid activation. Before Terrace could respond, Sub-Commander Velix approached with urgency. Commander, our sensors are detecting a planetary-scale energy field forming in Earth's upper atmosphere. Terrace's inner eyelids narrowed. This was not the response pattern of a Level 2 civilization, not even close. Accelerate the timeline, he ordered. Target New York City and fire the demonstration weapon. Now. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. The inevitable conquest's primary weapon, a concentrated plasma beam capable of vaporizing cities, charged with a high-pitched whine that reverberated through the ship's hull. Weapon ready, Commander. Fire. The brilliant blue-white beam lanced down from the flagship toward the Earth, a display of power meant to shatter any hope of resistance. But as it reached the upper atmosphere, something unexpected happened. The beam struck what appeared to be an invisible barrier, dispersing harmlessly across the surface of a now visible energy shield that encompassed the entire planet. The shield briefly pulsed with iridescent patterns where the weapon had impacted, then faded back to invisibility. For the first time in his long military career, Terrace felt a cold sensation in his spine, the Keldarian equivalent of fear. Impossible, whispered Sub-Commander Velix. Scan that shield, Terrace commanded, his voice betraying none of his inner turmoil. I want to know its composition, power source, and weaknesses immediately. As his crew rushed to comply, Terrace stared at the seemingly unchanged planet below. Something was very wrong here. Either their intelligence on Earth had been catastrophically flawed, or these humans had been deliberately concealing their true technological capabilities. Neither option boded well for the standard conquest protocol. In the SEORD command center, spontaneous applause broke out as the shield successfully repelled the alien weapon. Shield integrity at 92% and holding, reported a technician. Self-regeneration algorithms active. Elena allowed herself a brief smile of relief. Project Chrysalis's first line of defense had worked exactly as designed. The planetary shield, powered by a network of quantum generators hidden at strategic locations around the globe, had absorbed and dispersed the alien attack with minimal strain. They'll try again, she said, sobering the room. Probably with multiple weapons simultaneously. Prepare for sustained assault. On the main view screen, the alien fleet had entered Earth orbit, positioning vessels strategically around the planet. The largest ship, presumably their flagship, remained in geosynchronous orbit above North America. Dr. Reyes called out one of her analysts. We're being hailed again. Elena nodded. Put it through. Let's see what they have to say now. The screen shifted to show a tall, reptilian humanoid with scale-covered skin in metallic hues of blue and green. 4 yellow eyes blinked independently of each other, and a long tail could be seen moving behind the creature. When it spoke, its mouth moved in unsettling ways, not matching the translated words that came through the speakers. I am Supreme Commander Terrace of the Keldarian Empire. Your defensive capabilities are unexpected. Perhaps we have underestimated your species. Elena stepped forward, aware that she now spoke not just for SEORD or even the United States, but for all of humanity. This is Dr. Elena Reyes of Earth. Your unprovoked attack has been repelled, and we are prepared to defend ourselves against further aggression. State your intentions clearly. The alien commander's head tilted slightly. My intentions remain unchanged, Dr. Reyes. Earth will join the Keldarian Empire, either voluntarily or through conquest. Your shield is impressive but not impenetrable. The choice of how many of your people survive this transition belongs to you. We choose neither option, Elena replied firmly. We propose a third alternative. You leave our solar system immediately and never return. Commander Terrace made a sound that might have been laughter. Admirable courage, but misplaced. No species has successfully resisted the Empire. Your technology, while surprising, cannot match ours. We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours. Elena maintained her composed expression, but internally her mind raced. They needed to buy time. Before you make that determination, Commander, perhaps we should meet in person to discuss terms. Surely a civilization as advanced as yours values diplomacy. The alien commander seemed to consider this. A meeting. An interesting proposal. I accept under specific conditions. You may send 3 representatives to my vessel. They will be scanned for weapons and will submit to our security protocols. Elena nodded. Agreed. We will prepare a delegation immediately. As the transmission ended, General Williams approached her. That's a risky move, Elena. We don't know what their security protocols entail. We need to gather more intelligence about them, she responded. And we need time to fully activate the Sentinels. Who will you send? Elena's expression hardened. I'm going myself, along with Captain Chen and Dr. Kapoor. The general's eyebrows shot up. You're too valuable to risk on a potential suicide mission. I'm the most qualified person to assess their technology and intentions, Elena countered. And Captain Chen has undergone extensive training for first contact scenarios. Senior knows the shield technology better than anyone. He'll be able to tell if they're actively probing its weaknesses. Before Williams could protest further, Elena's secure phone buzzed with an update. Sentinel activation at 42%. Estimated time to full deployment. 3 hours. She showed the message to the general. 3 hours. That's all we need. Captain Maya Chen checked her equipment one last time as the transport shuttle prepared to depart. At 35, she was SEORD's top field operative, with extensive training in everything from xenolinguistics to close-quarters combat. Her official military record listed her as a standard Air Force pilot, but her actual resume included missions that would never appear in any database. Nervous? Asked Samir, adjusting the collar of his environmental suit. Maya gave him a sideways look. Should I be? Well, we're about to board an alien warship after their attempt to vaporize New York failed. So, maybe a little. Despite the tension, Maya smiled slightly. Samir's scientific brilliance was matched only by his refreshing candor. Dr. Reyes joined them, her own environmental suit sealed and checked. Remember the mission parameters. We observe, we engage in diplomatic conversation, and we gather as much intelligence as possible. The neural recorders in our suits will capture everything. And if things go sideways? Maya asked quietly. Elena's expression remained neutral. The shuttle has certain capabilities they won't be expecting. The shuttle itself was a masterpiece of misdirection. Externally, it appeared to be a slightly advanced but still recognizably conventional aerospace vehicle. Internally, it contained technology that matched or exceeded anything SEORD suspected the Kildarians possessed. As they boarded and prepared for launch, Maya took the pilot's seat. Final systems check complete. We're ready. Dr. Reyes nodded. Remember, we're playing the role of a species just beginning to understand advanced technology. We're impressed by their capabilities, but not intimidated. So we're basically doing cosplay as ourselves, Samir quipped. In a manner of speaking, Elena replied with the ghost of a smile. As the shuttle launched from a hidden SEORD facility in the Colorado mountains, Maya guided it on a direct course toward the Kildarian flagship. On standard radar, it would appear as nothing special, just a shuttle using conventional propulsion. The reality was considerably more sophisticated. Within 30 minutes, they received clearance to dock with the alien vessel. As they approached, the sheer scale of the Kildarian flagship became apparent. It was massive, at least 3 kilometers long, with a complex structure suggesting multiple internal environments and purposes. Size isn't everything. Samir muttered, clearly trying to reassure himself. Actually, in space warfare, mass does provide significant advantages. Maya responded automatically, then caught herself when she saw his expression. But you're right. Our technology compensates for that. The shuttle eased into a designated docking port, artificial gravity maintaining their orientation as they matched with the alien vessel. With a series of mechanical sounds, the connection was secured. "Here we go," Elena said, standing as the shuttle's airlock began to cycle. "Remember who we are and why we're here." The inner door opened to reveal two tall Kildarian soldiers, their scaled bodies covered in what appeared to be form-fitting armor. Four-fingered hands gripped devices that were unmistakably weapons. "Follow," commanded one in accented English. "Commander waits." As they stepped aboard the alien ship, Maya's trained eyes cataloged everything: corridor dimensions, material composition, security systems, crew density. The vessel's interior was surprisingly bright, with curved walls and metallic blue tones, and atmospheric conditions only slightly warmer and more humid than Earth standard. After several minutes of walking through corridors that all looked identical to human eyes, they arrived at a large chamber dominated by a circular table and a panoramic view of Earth below. Commander Terrace awaited them, flanked by two other Kildarians whose uniforms suggested high rank. "Dr. Elena Reyes," Terrace said, his yellow eyes fixing on her immediately. "Your reputation precedes you." Elena showed no surprise at this recognition. "As does yours, Commander Terrace. Though I admit, we've had less time to learn about you than you've apparently had to study us. The Kildarian Empire maintains extensive intelligence networks. Your planet has been under observation for some time." "How long?" Elena asked directly. "Long enough to know that your defensive shield should not exist," Terrace replied. "Long enough to know that your civilization is hiding something significant." Elena maintained her composure. "Perhaps your intelligence is simply flawed." "Perhaps," Terrace conceded, though his tone suggested otherwise. "But I find myself curious about a Level 2 civilization that possesses Level 5 defensive technology. It presents inconsistencies. Maybe your classification system needs updating," Maya suggested, earning a sharp look from one of the other Kildarians. Terrace ignored the comment. "You will submit to our scanning procedures now." Before Elena could respond, a beam of light enveloped all three humans, moving from head to toe in a slow sweep. Maya resisted the urge to reach for the concealed weapon that their shuttle's advanced technology had hidden from initial scans. When the scan completed, one of the Kildarian officers whispered something to Terrace, whose inner eyelids narrowed. "Interesting," he said finally. "Your biological signatures are purely human, yet you carry trace elements we've only seen in one other species. Elements that shouldn't exist on a planet like Earth." Elena kept her expression neutral, though internally she was processing this new information rapidly. What elements was he referring to? And what other species? "Commander," she said evenly, "we came here to discuss terms. Your empire wishes to conquer our world. We wish to remain independent. Is there a compromise that might satisfy both parties?" Terrace circled the table slowly, his tail swishing in what Maya interpreted as agitation. "The Kildarian Empire does not compromise, Dr. Reyes. However," he paused, studying her face, "we may be willing to offer Earth protectorate status rather than full integration. You would maintain limited autonomy under Imperial supervision." "And what would Earth provide in return?" Elena asked. "Resources, labor, knowledge," Terrace listed, "particularly regarding the origin of your defensive technology." The implication was clear. The Kildarians wanted to know how humans had developed such advanced systems, but Elena knew revealing the truth about SEORD and Project Chrysalis would only make Earth a more valuable target. "We need time to consult with our world leaders," she said diplomatically. Terrace's four eyes blinked in sequence. "You have until the completion of one planetary rotation. After that, we will demonstrate that your shield, while impressive, cannot withstand the full might of the Caldarian fleet. As the humans were escorted back to their shuttle, Maya whispered to Elena, 3 hours until the Sentinels are ready. We need to stall them. I know, Elena replied quietly. But I'm more concerned about what they found in that scan. They know something we don't. Back aboard their shuttle, with Caldarian monitoring devices skillfully blocked by their own technology, Samir voiced what they were all thinking. What did he mean about elements they've only seen in one other species? Elena shook her head. I don't know, but it might explain why Earth has been targeted despite being in a relatively unstrategic location. As Maya piloted the shuttle back toward Earth, the 3 humans shared a troubled look. Their mission had raised more questions than answers, and time was running out. Behind them, the massive Caldarian fleet maintained its orbital positions, weapon systems charged and ready. But now, other ships were moving, taking up new formations that suggested preparation for a coordinated attack. The assessment phase was over. The real confrontation was about to begin. The confrontation. Commander Terrace stood alone in his private chamber, studying the biological scan results from the human delegation. The data confirmed what he had suspected, but had been reluctant to accept. These humans carried trace molecular patterns identical to those found in precursor DNA. The precursors, a semi-mythical species that had supposedly seeded advanced technology throughout the galaxy before disappearing millennia ago. Most Caldarian scientists dismissed them as legends, but Terrace had encountered evidence of their existence during his centuries of conquest. Computer, compare the human genetic markers with the Vexor archive, he commanded. The ship's AI responded immediately, displaying a holographic comparison that showed unmistakable similarities between human DNA and fragments recovered from an ancient artifact discovered on the Vexor homeworld, a planet the Empire had conquered nearly a century ago. This changed everything. If humans were somehow connected to the precursors, then Earth wasn't just another conquest. It was potentially the most significant discovery in Imperial history. Terrace's comm unit chimed. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Imperial Sovereign. His scales rippled with surprise. The Sovereign, the supreme ruler of the Caldarian Empire, rarely communicated directly with field commanders. Route it to my private chamber. The holographic display shifted to show an ancient Caldarian. His scales faded to pale gray with age, eyes milky but still sharp. Sovereign, Terrace said, bowing deeply. This is an unexpected honor. Commander Terrace, the Sovereign's voice rasped. Your preliminary report on the Earth situation has reached the High Council. I am most interested in your findings. Terrace straightened. The humans possess technology far beyond their apparent development level, including a planetary shield that repelled our demonstration weapon. Their representatives carry genetic markers consistent with precursor influence. As I suspected, the Sovereign replied. Listen carefully, Commander. The conquest of Earth is no longer your primary objective. Terrace's inner eyelids blinked rapidly in confusion. Sovereign, Earth has been of interest to me for many cycles. The humans are not what they appear to be. They must possess precursor knowledge that could elevate our empire to unprecedented power. The Sovereign's image leaned closer. You will extract this knowledge by any means necessary. The planetary shield suggests they have accessed at least some precursor technology. There must be more. And the humans themselves? Terrace asked. Once we have what we need, they become irrelevant. The Sovereign's dismissal was cold and absolute. I am sending Archon Dex with a contingent of Imperial scientists to assist. They will arrive within 2 planetary rotations. As you command, Sovereign. After the transmission ended, Terrace remained motionless, processing this new directive. The standard conquest protocol had been superseded by something far more complex and potentially more dangerous. He pressed his comm unit. Tactical Officer Krell, report to my chamber immediately. When Krell arrived moments later, Terrace shared the Sovereign's orders. We need a new approach, Terrace concluded. The humans won't willingly share precursor technology with us. Krell's expression remained professional, but Terrace detected a hint of hesitation. Commander, something troubles me about these humans. Speak freely. Their defensive systems activated with remarkable precision. Their representatives showed no fear during our meeting, only calculation. And our deep scans detected energy signatures suggesting they have more technological surprises waiting. Terrace nodded slowly. Your assessment? They've been preparing for this, for us, for longer than seems possible. As if they knew we were coming. The implication hung in the air between them. If humans had somehow anticipated the Empire's arrival, it meant they had access to information they shouldn't possibly possess. Prepare the fleet for a coordinated shield penetration sequence, Terrace ordered. We need to apply enough pressure to expose whatever else they're hiding. Back at SEO-RD headquarters, Alina briefed the Emergency Council on their meeting with Commander Terrace. Their scan detected something in our biology that surprised them, she explained. Something they've only seen in one other species. General Williams leaned forward. Any idea what? No, but their reaction suggests it's significant. The commander mentioned elements that shouldn't exist on Earth. The president's holographic image spoke up. Could this be related to the Antarctic artifacts? Elena nodded. That's my theory. When we discovered those artifacts in 1991, we also found unusual trace elements that don't appear on the periodic table. Those same elements were incorporated into the Sentinel technology. Samur pulled up data on his tablet. Sentinel activation at 87% and accelerating. We should have full operational capacity within the hour. It might not be soon enough, Maya warned, pointing to the main display. The alien fleet is repositioning. Looks like they're preparing for a coordinated attack on the shield. Elena studied the tactical display with growing concern. The Keldarian vessels had formed a precise geometric pattern around Earth, positioning their weapons to strike the planetary shield simultaneously from multiple angles. They're trying to find a resonance pattern that could collapse the shield, she realized. Captain Chen, prep the Sentinel launch sequences. We need to be ready the moment they're fully activated. What about evacuation protocols? Asked the Russian president's representative. Elena shook her head. There's no time, and nowhere to go. If the shield fails, and the Sentinels aren't enough, she left the thought unfinished. Everyone understood the stakes. An alarm sounded throughout the facility. On the main screen, energy readings spiked as the Keldarian fleet fired in perfect synchronization. The shield held, but the entire structure pulsed visibly from orbit, iridescent patterns rippling across its surface like disturbed water. Shield integrity at 78% and dropping, reported a technician. They found a harmonic frequency that's interfering with our stabilization algorithms. Compensating, Samir called out, his fingers flying across his console. Adapting shield resonance to counter their attack pattern. The shield stabilized momentarily, then flared again as the Keldarians adjusted their weapons. They're learning too quickly, Elena muttered. We need the Sentinels now. As if in response to her urgency, a new message appeared on the command screen. Sentinel activation complete. All units operational and awaiting deployment orders.